I've been using the Nothing Phone 2 for over a week, and right now, it's my favorite phone of the year. Not only it's more pleasing to hold than the Phone 1, but its performance is tremendous and the cameras are on a new level. Nothing has taken the criticism of the first model and practically created the best flagship killer that you can get for $600. I mean, last year I was very critical with the Nothing Phone 1, so I believe that it's important in this review to recap what my main criticism were and check if they have improved it. To start with, its design was pretty cool, but on a practical level, it wasn't very useful. Now with the Nothing Phone 2, they have kept the same design. The black version is somewhat more grayish, which makes the glyphs look better, but the most important change are on the edges of the back, which are now a little bit more curved, which significantly improve its grip. Still, it's a super slippery phone which you probably won't want to put a case on. There's no doubt that this phone looks amazing, but personally, I don't find it practical. Still, they wanted to make it more useful, and for that, well, they have added new functions to its Glyph interface. Now you can create your own sound pack, which will light up according to what you have done. You can activate a timer from the top panel, which, when placed on a table, will start counting like this and will notify you with some flashes at the end. It's also compatible with some apps like Uber. We continue to see the charging status and the volume without having to see it on the screen. All these integrations are cool and set it apart from the competition, but I'm already used to having the phone facing me, especially with the always-on display. This interface also limits the use of a case, something that you will want to put on a phone that practically invites you to put it always facing down whenever you can. But hey, at least it comes with a screen protector. Now, about the screen and the sound, last year I mentioned how much I like the panel they use, but we had green tints and the second speaker wasn't that powerful. This year, they're using a new 120Hz LTPO panel, which increased in size, reducing its bezels. On the outside, it looks better thanks to a higher brightness, and the speakers are also much more powerful. Its only negative aspect is that I still see some green tints when I'm using it in low brightness. This hasn't worsened my experience or anything like that, but it just shows you that they're not using the best panel on the market. This new screen should also consume less energy, especially when using the always-on display, but in the battery test that I did with PC Mark, you can see it's kind of a weak result. You know, I was expecting like 12 or 13 hours with a 4700 mAh battery, so I do believe there's a little bit of a lack of optimization. But don't worry, because the system itself, it doesn't feel like that. The Nothing Phone 1 was fast, but the Nothing Phone 2 far surpasses it thanks to its Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. This phone feels fast and fluid, just like a Pixel, and it does all this without even having UFS 4.0. In games, it's also capable of running them without any problem, as with the case of Genshin Impact. And even though I ran all this game at maximum, only one exceeded the 60 frame barrier. What I did notice is a little bit of a heat with very demanding tasks. It's nothing too exaggerated, but it's important to mention. And it also explains this throttling losing 30% of its performance in the first 10 minutes. I don't know if it's the processor or lack of heat dissipation, but it kinda limits my recommendation to anyone that wants a phone to play games. Especially when for the same price, you can get the Red Magic 8 Pro. Still, for the type of use I gave it, I never felt any kind of throttling. The phone is super fast when browsing the system and between apps, feeling like a true flagship in every sense. Where I also felt this was with the cameras, but curiously, not with the photos itself, but with the preview, where on this phone, it's crazy good. This is something quite characteristic of high-end devices, and it's a little bit difficult to explain in a video, but basically, what you see on the preview, on the screen before taking the photo or the video, it's very similar to the final result. This was the first photo I took with the phone, but with the second one, I noticed that they had solved the out of focus problem. Its dynamic range is also exceptional, at the pixel level I would say, as well as its night photos, which amazed me because in both, there were almost no light at all. I also like the front-facing camera with good sharpness and a decent natural colors. Its wide angle, however, well, it's a little bit worse than the main sensor, but the difference is less noticeable than in previous generations. All in all, the photo capability of this camera is outstanding. In video mode, I will say the quality is also on par with generally good sharpness and colors. When recording 4K 30 frames per second, you get decent stabilization if you don't move around too much, but if you have to record while walking, its stabilization is comparable to other top tier phones. If the lighting is poor, it does struggle a bit, that's true, but generally speaking, it's a good camera for recording. This is also true for the front-facing camera, although in this case, it only records at 1080p. When they first sent me this phone, I did believe it was gonna cost around $800, since the first one was launched for $450, and it's much better. So knowing that it costs $600 here in the US, well, it was quite a surprise. Don't get me wrong, I do still think that it's an expensive phone, but at the same time, it's competitive. Let's say for example the Poco F5 Pro, which in Europe was launched for $579 and here you can still get it for less than $500, but the Nothing Phone 2 has better cameras, a better design, more updates, and a better system too. So for a little bit more, I do believe that this phone is worth it, and that's why for me, this is practically, like a Pixel 7, but with a better processor. That's why right now I'm gonna keep using it as my personal device. I do think it's a great phone in all areas, especially with the system, which, it's like Pixel level. But anyway, if you have any questions about it, you can leave it in the comments. And if you have, like an idea with another phone that I can compare it, you can also let me know. But anyway, I see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao!